Hello guys, what is up? Um, Welcome to yet another live stream. I'm sorry I haven't been live streaming lately because my internet became incredibly slow, as in peaking at 500 kilobits per second. So it was a pleasant thing. But I'm back partially, at least until I'm hoping that the internet will remain stable. And today I have a little bit of a more introductory plan. Um, I'm going to go over GUIs just a little bit. Very brief introduction. We're gonna go deeper into that later on. But just because it's going to be a very small part of the, and we're also going to look into threading, um, and how to convert Python code into executables. Really easy. I just want to go over all of this. Is where we left off. Um, oh, I should probably, I'm sorry, let me just change this a bit so let's do this. I want to separate my screen. I can have chat on one. Let's, but this. Hey, Elemento, how are you doing? I'm sorry for the happening right now. I'm just trying to figure this. I'm good, thanks. How are you? I'm great. I'm great. You know. So I have, yes. Okay, this should work. So let's hop into here and I guess I'm doing it the other way around. Wait, I'm gonna read what you said. No props, take your time. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Okay, so this is definitely, I don't want to restart this other. So here's what's gonna happen. I'm going to, because restarting the screen would just horrible. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna put everything on the same screen and read chat as I go through my phone, and I'll be back in less than 1 minute. Okay, okay, there we go. So how is college and everything? It was my understanding that you were starting out already. Oh, oh, sometimes I lag a bit. Okay, let's check. Oh God. Okay. Here. You dropped frames. Okay, I'm dropping some frames. I'm going to restart the stream really quickly. I guess. Unless I can do. I don't think I can. Am I still lagging right now, or is it better? Whisper to a Discord about it. Sadly, they did not give me the opportunity, but thinking to try it, do it another way. Oh, you did? Did I answer? Because if I didn't answer, that might have been my other Discord, and I still have to go. It's good now. Oh, awesome. Okay, so it's all perfect. Of course, play capture. Great. Now I can read messages here. I'm learning C in assembly. Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Okay. Oops. Okay. There might be a little bit of a delay. That's why I'm just waiting for messages. But I think we're ready to start. And so today will be a little bit of an introductory stream, and we're gonna talk more about this tomorrow and the days after. I'm going to start streaming every day if I can while this internet is shaky, but at least until the 15th of February, which where I start getting busy again, and then maybe only once a week. Let's see how this goes. In any case, today's live stream will be just rearranging our code a little bit, and we're going to learn about threading and how to create different threads, and why they're useful, all of that stuff. We're also going to learn how to convert Python code into an executable, which is really easy. We're going to test our ransomware, our little, you know, tiny version of a ransomware, really quickly on a virtual machine, which I got right here. And we're going to talk a little bit about GUIs because we're going to be using partially project. So this is where we left off. Well, maybe after the stream I might have a few questions. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay. So this is good. What we have right now is good. We might want to put this into a module so we can use it and read. So what I've done, by the way, in the virtual machine, I created a folder called test that just had our passwords and stuff so that we can test the ransomware here. So we don't need this anymore. So I'm just going to delete this. I'm deleting the environment as well because that was for the other way. Okay. That's gonna take a while. Anyhow, we're gonna have our oh, did I delete something I didn't want to? Okay. This shouldn't be here either. Okay. Now I'm gonna create a new folder called modules here. With a little underscore so that modules, like doing that. We're gonna create our init.py. We already learned a little bit about modules, so init.py, then whatever's inside of here. I'm going to call it crypto. Going to copy everything in here. Now, we don't need these comments anymore at this point. Oh, and later on, we're going to do a little a whole module for encryption where we're going to learn about all the different kinds of encryption, RSA, AES, learn how to actually make these scratch, why they work, a little bit of the maths behind elliptic curve cryptography as well. And that will be incorporated later on into this project as well. So we have an actually good encryption because right now we just have a very basic. Now this code is the code that executed our module. So we don't want it to run right here. We can do an if name equals. Now I'm not entirely sure that I actually explained this, but what this does is the dash dash name. So let's have a little example here. So in this folder right here, let's just comment everything out. In this script, let's just say print name. And when we execute this, or window, execute this, crypto, it's going to say it's main. Now here's the thing, if we are somewhere else, so let's say we're on this ransomware modules, import crypto. And we do this. Of course, I'm ransomware. When we execute ransomware, nothing gets executed. More importantly, let's move this into so it actually does get executed. As you can see, it's no longer main. And the reason for that is when you're calling on, when you're importing something, the code is being executed. This name attribute will be the module, right? As you can see, it will have the path to our module, so underscore module.crypto. When we execute it through here, it will have main because it is what we executed in the first place. So this ransomware right here, when we specifically ran the file ransomware, its name is main, right? So everything that we import will not be main in its environment. So by doing this, if name equals main, then putting some code in here, we guarantee that this only runs if you directly call the crypto.py. And if you import it, this doesn't run. This is useful because you can have some test code in here for when people execute this directly, and you can import it safely with this code still here without it running. This is kind of the idea. So let's do this. Now we can do the same thing, but we now can import. Now in ransomware, we can import crypto. And just like before, what we could do is we first need to get a key. And we have a key generator, so crypto.keyGenerator. And we don't need a length because it's going to default to 4. And using this key, we're going to either decrypt or encrypt a directory. So we could encrypt directory, crypto.encrypt directory, the directory name, so you can test, for example, and we're going to have our key, right? So it's the same thing, but cleaner. So this is kind of what I wanted to do first so that we have a better organization of our file. So now if we want to extend or change the way that cryptography works, we can go into crypto.py and change it here. And then of course it's going to, as we call it. Now I wanted to go a little bit into threading. And for that, I'm going to create a new file called threads.py. And I'm going to import a module called, which is going to handle all of our threading. So in Python, you can create multiple threads in a way that I'm going to show you in a bit. And what this does is it will create, it's not a new process. It's going to basically create a new instance of your process. It will execute whatever function you tell it to, while retaining the entire scope of the same project. So let me give you a little example. Let's say thread, just the name, threading.thread. So this is the thread object. Now here, you can put a couple of arguments. One we always want to put is a target. This tells you, and this gives this thread a specific function to execute. Say, hello. Now we need to make this function, so let's make a function called hello. The only thing we'll do is print hello, right? Now if we execute this, just Python threads, nothing will happen because we have our thread object, but we haven't started the thread. Start the thread, you can do thread.start. And now it printed hello. Fair enough. Now, of course, threads can do anything that you want, and this is particularly important. So let's say you have a while true loop, right? Import time as well. We can do a little sleep. We're going to print that, and we're going to sleep for 3 seconds. While this is happening, our hello will also have a loop that every second will print hello. We run this, you can see that in parallel we have 2 different functions execute. We have the hello, we have waiting. Hello, of course, executes every second, so you have 3 hellos per each thing. Although not necessarily accurate. You get the idea. Now, why can this be useful? Oh god. No, I hit a little. By the way, another property of threads. So I did a control C, and you notice that the main program exited. So no longer am I printing the waiting. The main program has ended, but it's still printing the hello because this thread is still working. If you want to, what you can do as well is you can do thread.daemon equals true before starting the thread, of course. What this will do is it will daemonize the thread, which means it's basically going to be like a child of the main process. And when the main process ends, the threads end as well. So in this particular scenario, if we were to Python threads, now still executing. Now if we control C, everything stops because the main thread stops, and then all the other threads or daemons stop. This is the basic idea with threading. There's not a lot right now. Of course, this can get pretty complicated if you want to start. If you want to do this in a large scale with pool, and then you have a lot of things you can map to it. But for now, we're just going to focus on a very simple use. And why these can be useful in, for example, ransomware is for monitoring purposes. You can have one thread that is just doing monitoring while the other threads are doing other things. Or even to make sure that a normal user, a standard user, can't close his program. For right, you can have multiple threads. Once one of the threads is closed, the other thread will, and that can work. And we might do some of that. But I just wanted to show you the basic functionality of thread. Also, don't forget. So let's do some sum y print I. Now, if you wanted to actually just say x, and we're going to print that value. if you want to pass variables to you into your thread, what you can do is you can use the arg. Oops. Now the args expects an iterable, by the way. So you can specify this in tuple format. You specify this in a tuple format. You have to be careful because if you only have one item inside of it, for example, hello, you should end it with a comma so that there are no problems. Just printed for hello once because we don't have a loop. You see the idea. So we can pass variables in. Now this is going to be useful later on. And don't worry, this is just a little overview, a little introduction to threading, and so that you can see it working. It's not a formal explanation of it. That will come a little bit later. Now I also wanted to show you a little bit about GUIs, which is why I'm going to create, and we're going to integrate some threading into this. I'm going to create, I'm going to call it splash, splash.py, which is going to be like a little bit of our splash screen. Because remember, if we're doing a ransomware, we got to have like a little screen that tells you, hey, you need to pay this amount of Bitcoin to wallet. So this is taking care of that screen. We're going to be using Tkinter. Now, again, I will make a more formal guide on Tkinter. But Tkinter is used to create GUIs, and it's pretty popular in Python. Documentation, I believe. We're going to be looking into event-based programming as well, because everything triggers an event that you're going to have handlers. But we're going to do a very simple thing where we don't actually need all of it. So it's common to do import Tkinter as TK, just as it is common to do import matplotlib as LT, pandas as PD, etc. Just because it's shorter. So first of all, I'm going to create a function called display hacked. Oh, we're gonna take an address here. And this is going to create our window, and we're going to the address will be for showing particular Bitcoin address. So the first thing we want to do is create our main window. Now you would do this with classes, but we haven't explored object-oriented programming quite. That's why I'm going to opt for simplistic approach. So I'm just going to call our main tk, and the class that you construct your window. It's the K, capital T K. Well, capital T case K. And if we run this, by the way, let's just make a random address. If we run this, by the way, nothing actually happens, is we created our object that will handle, but we haven't started our main loop. So to create the window itself, you need to start the main loop. And now see, there's a little window here. Now there's nothing inside of here and it's ugly. So we got to put some stuff into it. Now this is where you can look up the Tkinter documentation. We're going to be looking at this future deeply, but you can just add particular elements in. You can create and you can use a grid layout, which will a lot of the, or you can just use a faster, more approach, I guess. That's what we're going to be using right now. So I want to create a little message. We can create a message by saying, so let's say hacked message going to be equal to tk.text, and this is the object to, this is the text object. We have a label object, message box, we have a lot of different. So this is the text. And if I just do this, by the way, again, nothing happens in our main window. To put this into the screen, what we have to do is we have to hack it. We have to do hacked message that. And afterwards, we're going to have a text box, and notice we can actually write on it. Awesome. So that's not really what we want. But we can configure some options. So the first option I want to configure is here is our state. And our state would be disabled. You can access configuration with the .configure method. And there are a lot of different variables. I suggest you use like a VS Code or something, or check the documentation so you can. But you can use state, and it's going to be disabled. Now, what this happens, what this creates is an empty text box. Type in. Perfect. But we also wanted to say something. So right now you can do insert. Now, if you see in here, it tells me that it wants us to insert a text index and then the characters, and then some more arguments. So the index, though it works is by column and row, but if you're inserting it for the first time, it's always going to be 0. I'm just going to put 0.0 here, and going to create. We don't have this yet. We're going to. And args, I'm not going to put any args. Fact text is going to be equal to this bar, by the way, is for continuing on the lex now. So it's a bit more. So it's a bit prettier when I do this instead of just like a little line break, but it continues from here. So I can see something like you have been at. All your files are encrypted. Good. I don't know. 300. This is stupid on purpose. Bitcoins to following s status, something like that. After payment, you're covered automatic, something like that. Now, actually, I want this inside of this file because here's where we have our ad. Now, if we run this, we're not going to have anything. And oh wait, did I make anything? Okay. Because I still wanted to change something as well. I wanted to change this as well because I don't like the background right now. I'm gonna put like a red background. Yeah. Let's also do. I believe this is correct idea. Okay, we have our. I named this. I'll talk about this a bit. Okay, this is actually I forgot that we had to do the tag, but we'll do this in a minute. So let's do this perhaps. I'm doing something wrong here. I don't know what exactly right. What am I doing wrong here? Oh. Okay. Okay. Um It. Okay. So, oops. Did I do some? Yeah. Okay. So you can see that the background is correctly formatted to be red at this point. Now, if I do, so let's put our text again. Okay, the text, and we're gonna have our 0 matter. Well, just in insert. We're gonna have our text here. Oh, oops. Oh my god. No. And let's do that. Okay. So you see that the text actually appears here, but the problem is that, wait, I had this, configure. Yeah, this was actually tricky. I had the state being disabled first, when I should have actually had the state being disabled after. And if you take a look at it now, it's still disabled. You can't type, but the text is there. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. My brain farted for a second. Anyway, I was also putting this label here, main. So what this does is, so I'm inserting it in the 0.0 index. That's just the first index, doesn't really matter. Our text. Now I'm adding a little tag name. So what this will do is it will allow us to access a specific method called tag config. Well, we can always access it, but it will allow us to use this for that particular text. And then we can put its name. So it's main because that's what I called it here. And I can change a couple of attributes. So I can change the background to be red as well. So now if you notice, the background is red too. Now it looks ugly, but it will look good in a second. We can change its border to be 0, so we can have no borders around it. Oh, actually, border is, oh, okay. Because actually the border, we should put it here. My bad. Border equals 0 should be put here. And the background too, because actually here is where, there we go. Now it looks good. Because here is specifically for the configuration of the tag, which will be the text in itself. This is where you want to, if you want, for example, to justify it to center. Hey Wolf, how are you doing? And now this is justified into center mode. You can also do an expand equals true in here, which I did before as well, to make this a bit more centered. Screen it, it looks a bit more centered. You can change the font as well to be equal to, say, 15 in length. This first none is so if you look at the font, you're gonna have the font, the description, and then other properties. So I'm just gonna put none there. Any? There we go. This looks good. If you full screen it, this looks okay. I mean, it's not the prettiest thing you've seen, but it works. This, that's this. So yeah, I of course I haven't prepared any of this, so that's why, like, when you see my errors, they're genuine, and I'll work through them with you here. So I don't work with pack a lot and a lot of these things, but we'll make do. So right now we have a little splash screen. This works, right? So you've been hacked, all your files are encrypted, blah blah. Now we might want to make this full screen, for example, and do that by changing the attributes of our main object. So we main attributes, and full screen. That's how you change attributes in general here. True. Now it's full screen. Oh, and notice how we don't have any way to click away from this, right? Of course, you can Alt Tab away, but you can't exit right now. We can make this a bit even worse by adding an attribute for what was it called? Topmost, I believe. Yeah, now every time you Alt Tab, this will always be on top. There's something else you probably want as well. So let's just make a little exit function that what it will do is it will probably display a little message box that says, hey, you can't exit. So let's do from Tkinter import, why is font here? From Tkinter import message box, and we can do a message box dot message box dot what message box do we want? Disable task manager. Oh yeah, we're gonna do all of that stuff. So error perhaps. Error. Of course, the first is a title. Then we're gonna have our. Can't do that. Show up, and we need to hook this onto something, right? So, in our main window, and remember, this is basically our application. It's our object that will create everything. So everything is part of this. So we can. So this is part of the protocol. So in which it will be the delete window, I think, and we're going to bind this to our exit function. So now, there we go. Now you cannot exit from here or Alt Tab away, but you can still Alt F4. And if you do Alt F4, this error will show up. Hey, you can't do that. Ouch. Now, you might think, well, what other ways could you have to do this, right? Of course, you can open your task manager. But again, you can't really switch to it. There are also, but of course, there are all sorts of things you can do. You can go over and do. Oops, wait, did I type that wrong? I think I may have. Anyway, there are ways to exit through. This is not. Yeah, there we go. This is not really, completely foolproof, but this will be pretty good against most common users, right? And the idea with this particular thing that I just did is not so much to, prevent people from being able to bypass the screen, because all the files are encrypted. If they bypass the screen, they can't access the files. It's more so that they don't accidentally exit from it, or they don't do stupid things and, lose the access to the address and stuff. So it will always show up. And of course, the idea is for common users to not be able to bypass the screen. Now, how do we make this, change based on whether they've paid or not? For disabled, yeah. Hey, Arska, how are you doing? Arska, it's so hard to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. So what you can do is you can let's define another function. Let's say monitor payment. Now we're not going to go into networking and checking for payments right now. We're going to do that at some point. But now we're just going to create a dummy thing, the monitor payment. And for simplicity purposes, before we discuss object-oriented programming and classes, and we start subclassing everything, for simplicity purposes, we're going to ask two things here. We're going to ask main and we're going to ask message. The idea being that before the main loop starts, because after the main loop, anything that gets executed only gets executed after exits. Right? So we want to start our thread before the main loop. So let's say our monitor thread, and let's import threading. So our monitor thread will be equal to threading.thread. Oops. And our target is, of course, going to be equal to monitor payment. There we go. Now we're going to have some args. Oops. Args, which which are going to be, of course, our main and our hacked. There we go. And monitor thread dot. I'm gonna put it as daemon so that when we exit one, everything exits so that it's neat and tidy. True. We might change this in the future, of course. And we can now start this. Now, it won't do anything quite yet, so we need to make it do something. Now, we want to check payment, but for now, let's pretend that the payment is always complete after 4 seconds. So I'm just going to sleep for 4 seconds, and then let's pretend the payment is done. So when the payment is done, we want to, first of all, we want to change the message that appears on the screen. But we also need to change the background and everything. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this message here that we got, and we're going to destroy it. I hope this is the correct thing. But we can test it out. So let's run it after 2 seconds or 5 seconds, whatever I put it there. There we go. It was destroyed. Okay, perfect. So it's working. So now we're going to go for main. And we want our background to be green because it's successful, right? And we want to create also a different, if we just do this, by the way, let's just put 2 seconds so it's a bit faster. If we do this, the whole thing will be green, but now we need our message. We're going to create a new message. So success equals tk.text, just like before. In fact, we can copy the same thing as before. So right here, of course, instead of hack.txt, it's going to be success, and we're going to have our success message. Our success message can be global for now. We're going to clean this up at some point, but for now, I think this sense. Files are covered. Please don't turn the computer. This won't be such a problem later on because obviously we need to pay attention. We need to do some state monitoring and making sure that all the files get recovered, all of that stuff. So if now we execute this, oh, oops. I forgot to change the background to green, of course. But yeah, so the idea is this shows up, you can't exit, and after the payment has been done, this shows up. Now, of course, we can change this, or you can change this to make it pretty, but just the basic idea. And of course, the basic concept here being that you can't actually close this. You can't actually close this, because it just tells you that you can't do that. But here's the thing, when you try to close it, it goes into the next step. Of course, because 2-second delay there. That's not a big deal. I need to remember this because I'm going to forget. So to do make an actual check. Because right now it's just sleeps. Okay. Great. So, and of course, the reason why I made this into a function is so that I could have sworn that I had a snippet for this. Wait, name? No. Whatever. I had a docstring for that, I'm pretty sure. Okay, sorry, a snippet for that. Anyway, the reason we did it like this is because now we can move this into modules. And we can go into our ransomware. And we can, of course, do from modules import crypto, but also import. What else is there to import? Flash. And delete this, and we have our splash dot display hacked that we can call on, and we can give an address of random address. And of course, if we run the ransomware, hopefully this is correct. There we go. Great. Okay. So now, let's say that we want to actually recover the particular document. In our splash, as soon as this is done and it's gone into our next stage, so if this monitor payment, that the check is correct, what we can do as well is we can start our decryption process here. But this is actually tricky. I'm thinking about it right now, but it's tricky to code because without making the check, we still need to retrieve a key that was used. So we need a server. So I think we should do that next time because, yeah, I think so. Because next time we're actually going to do a specific server for this, so we can create a different key for every client, and then this splash thing. For now, I think this is as good as it's gonna get before we make our. Okay, let's talk a little bit about how to make this into an executable, because I think that's important and it's really easy. So what you need first, I'm going to activate my ransomware environment. You can do that in your environment or not. You need to install PyInstaller. I made my own Python 2 exe module some time ago, but it's a bit outdated, so I prefer using PyInstaller. And after you do that, it's really easy. All you got to do is be in the directory, and you can do PyInstaller, and then you can do -F for it to bundle it into one file. Because by default, I believe it doesn't bundle into one file, it bundles into many different files. It's dependency. But this bundles it to one executable standalone. -W for it to not spawn a terminal. And the name of the script, so ransomware.py. This should also resolve all of the modules that were here. Probably it won't resolve crypto because it's not used, but it should resolve everything that is used. There sometimes might be problems when you want to edit the configuration file. For now, this should be perfectly good. And we can test it on our virtual machine here. I have a shared box for this particular folder. Notice that we build in a distribution was created. Build has a lot of files that you can take a look at. The distribution has our executable. Now this executable is going to be big because, again, we made a standalone, so it's going to be packed into here. And what is this executable? So this executable, at some point we might analyze this. It basically includes as resources, you'll have the Python interpreter in, a lot of modules that are used in Python, and all that it's doing is literally calling the Python interpreter, interpreting your code, but all of that wrapped in a executable file. So let's go into distribution, copy here. You can change the icon in PyInstaller as well. I'm not sure, but I believe it's with icon equals something. Not sure, but you can Google that really easily. Now, if we double click this, we should have our screen pop up, unless there are some errors. Oh, there you go. You've been hacked. And now the files are being recovered. And now here, the thing is, you can't really quit. And most people won't know how to go from here. And most people will do what? They will probably restart the computer. And here's when we're going to explore in the following videos as well how to add some persistence, so how to add keys, maybe other ways to persist so that when it restarts, this starts automatically as well. Oh, and you can't really switch to something else because, well, you can execute other commands. Wait, is this not working? Yeah, see, it's actually pretty difficult to manage without seeing. No, that's this still works actually. Okay, I wasn't actually aware that this worked. This still works. We can of course you can't close it, but we can of course also this is something we're gonna do at some point. Disable task manager, disable command prompt, um, maybe even just kill explorer. Right? If we kill the explorer, you won't be able to do any of this. Right? So if you wrong text. Oops. Oh. And then you won't be able to actually go through here. And yeah, but this is the idea. Now we can also turn this selection off at some point, but this is the basic idea of what I wanted to give you today. It's not much, but it's a bit of an introductory GUI threading and a bit of how to converting into executable and I hope this was a bit useful at least to see how our ransomware will start to look in a bit. And yeah, and that's basically it. That's what today's stream was all about. Oh, dear Chams, I'm sorry. I'm not actually. Oh, I completely forgot YouTube chat. I've been reading Twitch chat. I completely forgot YouTube. Sure. If you are on the Discord, just DM me on the Discord channel. Give me a DM. It's Whitehead Hacking right here. So there's an invite link on YouTube or in my Twitch. Yeah. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. So this was a pretty short, not much content yet, live stream, but yeah. Oh, oops. Also, Ilmento, I'm not sure if you're here still. When you message me on Discord, make sure you have MarioHS 7144. No, 7100. Because that is the one I use most of the time. Because I couldn't find your message at all. I'm not sure if you sent it here or not. But I will check my other Discord as well after this. Um, but yeah, that was it. Oh, and was on White Hack, I think. Yeah, no worries, I'll add you. Oh, oh wait. Oh, you mean on the server? Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. Yes, okay. That makes a lot more sense. Okay. I'm sorry because I have a lot of different notifications and I don't see them all. DMs on Discord I always see and I always answer, even if it takes me some time. I always see them all. And all the time. But sometimes, like on the server, I don't see everything. I'm sorry. Some cool things that you can also do. As I said before, you could have another thread, for example, monitoring the other thread. So if somehow we're able to spawn them, a lot of stuff that you. But I think for now this was a good introduction. I'm trying not to make these too heavy, and I'm actually quite happy that I had some problems, some areas of well, minor problems, but I had some errors that I had to go through. So at least you know it's always a plus thing. Yeah. Are there any questions? I will end the stream in around 4 minutes if there are no questions. And yeah, and dear chams, you can just message me on Discord. Mario HS 7100. Join What Hat Hacking. There should be on my Twitch. There definitely is a Discord link. On YouTube, I'm not entirely sure, but there should. Oh, it's not here. Oh, it's not here. But if you go to the channel, it should be right here. Our server, or I believe in any of the go to playlists. If you go to the programming fundamentals, where this will be there as well. In most videos, you should have in show more. You should have the website, merch, live, etc. And if you go to the website, whitehathacking.tech, you'll have a community here, and that's the. By the way, quick thing about the website. I'm trying to put ads in here. But yeah, I'm trying to get ads approved. It will only be on that screen, on this specific screen. It won't be anywhere else. Hopefully that's okay. Oh, I should. I'm Brazilian, so I don't understand English so much. Oh, I'm sorry. I speak in English because most of the people, you know, this is why I can get the content to most people. But if you want, you can message me in Portuguese and I'll answer you in Portuguese. I'm from Portugal, actually. So I speak Portuguese. Um, we should be able to understand each other, even if our language is not entirely the same. And yeah, any anything you want to ask or you might want. Also, I'd really love it if you guys could drop a follow or a subscribe on YouTube. You know, if you guys like the content, there's going to be more to come. And this is kind of like the beginning area. This is, of course, a project that we're working on. It's the ransomware project. But after this, we're going to go into C and assembly, and that's where a lot of things are going to start getting interesting. So the whole plan is going to be the next stream. I'm going to go a little bit deeper on some of the concepts that I discussed here brief. We're going to make our splash screen a little bit better. We're going to make a server that is going to create super content and very recurseful. Oh, thanks. But yeah, we're gonna make things. We're gonna make a server that is going to dynamically create clients with different stuff, so that we know exactly what keys to push out to the client, get their payment successfully. Afterwards, maybe not tomorrow, but afterwards, maybe the day after, we're gonna look into how to verify payments, of that good stuff, and at some point, it's going to be something that you can actually. That's the idea. Something that you can actually use. not something that is just happening. So it won't be the prettiest thing, but it will be functional. That's the idea. And later on, I think the last thing I want to do before ending the core project is going to be talking about actually talking about encryption. I'm thinking of also doing a separate course on encryption with all of the mathematics behind it and a lot of the good stuff that I will do in parallel as well. So that if people don't want the whole content here, they just have the introduction and then go to the other course. Of course, also free. After the ransomware, we're going to try to be a bit more basic on some other concepts. We're going to do a more networking heavy project with reverse shells, and afterwards we're going to go into C, where we're going to understand a lot more about core components of the computer interacting with. Going to set us up really well to go into reverse engineering later. Okay. Three times combo. I don't actually know what that. What is Streamlabs telling me? I sent you a message. Okay, I will open it up and I will check it up. And if you're up for it, maybe a video about the certifications you would recommend. Oh, sure thing. I can do that as well. I won't open the messages on stream, you know, but I'll open it up as soon as I end. Certifications, there's actually a lot to it, I think. And I should, yeah, it deserves its own video. I'll definitely make a video about it. Note it down, actually. Okay, I'll note it down because I'll forget if I don't. Okay, I guess I will be going right now. And Elemento, if you want to ask your questions, just text me and I'll answer them as fast as I can. And yeah. Also, don't forget we have awesome merch and it is delivering. Just click merch, whitehacking.tech merch. It is delivering. It is pretty decent. And when you got the time. Oh, also don't forget that we are actually getting a lot more content for our but we're currently designing it. It's gonna be a bit cooler so that it's not just a logo, but yeah. If you guys want to support the merch is also a really cool way to do that. The reason why I always mention the merch is because you're supporting the content, of course, but you're also getting something that you can use. So it might be more appealing to. But yeah, as always, guys, stay safe and maybe even more relevant now, and happy hacking.